Whenever I see someone just starting the game and they invest a lot of money in this type of iron, I do somewhat wince slightly. Only because I made exactly the same mistake, and yes, I did pay over £700 for these irons back in the day. But rather than take my word for it, let me prove to you why these types of irons are arguably the worst investment in golf. However, before anyone comes for me, let me do some clarification. If you're a more senior player, you've just been fitted into the QI10 or let's say the Callaway AI Smoke and a graphite regular flex shaft, only got 6 to gap wedge, and ultimately that is going to be your last ever set that you then purchase, well, obviously that's a good investment. Or if you play once a month and have no intention of having lessons or even practicing, I can get behind that player buying a brand new set of these types of irons due to the ease of, well, purchasing them. And with 5 years worth of corporate days and events, obviously that then becomes a relatively cost-effective purchase. However, let me explain the type of golfer that these would be a horrible investment for, just like it was for me back in the day. And also how easy it is to find one of these sets that does exactly the same thing, but at a fraction of the price. Because believe it or not, I believe there is a place for these heavy de-lofted irons that will help that progressing golfer gain confidence in this game. But what I do question is the need for a tailored set of £1,000 set of irons for that 28 handicap golfer or someone that's been playing less than a year, mainly due to the reason, just like myself 16 years ago, that golfer is one lesson or even one YouTube video away from changing their technique and making that very expensive tailored beginner cavity back iron set completely obsolete. The other downside of these types of irons is the very short lifespan that they have compared to, well, their other counterparts. This is down to a few reasons. Shops having to pre-order this type ahead as it has the obvious graphics that will then match the driver range in the shop as well. Therefore, we have a compounding effect of pro shops getting to October knowing that, well, this is going to be changed for whatever newer iron that's then coming out, as well as a lot of progressing golfers, like I just explained, getting this, buying this, using this, and then changing their technique. So they need something more true lofted, less offset, and more of their long-term iron choice. Now, I have some top picks through this list, as well as some to stay clear of, and I'll give you the obvious reasons for those, as well as talk about the de-loftedness of each iron set, how that's going to tailor to different beginners or different progressing golfers in this list, or even some of you guys that are getting into the later years of your golfing career and do need a bit more help for that distance, but again, don't necessarily want to pay more than £130 for one of these irons. I have to say that iron at the end takes the biscuit for the most de-lofted 7-iron I've ever seen, and I can't even believe it didn't even come on my radar. But before we go into this list, I must stress this isn't the cheapest way of getting into this kind of iron head type. For example, this Callaway XR16 iron does exactly the same as every other iron in this list, and let's be honest, goes for virtually nothing in today's market. But I still feel comfortable sharing these newer irons with you for two main reasons. Firstly, some of you just want up-to-date equipment in good condition, and I get that. So hopefully this list will be able to scratch that itch. Secondly, even though some of these sets, even pre-owned, are £500, they've lost a lot of their depreciation value already, and because they're big name brands, when that inevitable growing out stage comes, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, you would have only lost £100, £150, opposed to over £500 if you were to take the wrapper off a brand new one. TaylorMade QI irons currently retail at £859, that's £143 per club, and one of the strongest lofted options in this list at 28 degrees. Stealth irons came out in 2022, so that is a 2-year cycle, and TaylorMade did bring out the Stealth HD irons, but I'm just choosing standard cavity back irons for this list. However, unlike the P790 for TaylorMade that holds its value incredibly well, the Stealth definitely isn't the case, and one of the better value options through this list at £400 pre-owned. That's £66 per club, and the fact that you're going to get the same de-loftedness, the same offsetness, good choice of shafts, good condition grips. TaylorMade's a good option to buy second secondhand, especially at this price point, mainly because it has an army of fans. And I only have to show you the Sim irons that came out 2 years before that, retailing at £300 secondhand. I was shocked by this next one and how much it goes for brand new as well as secondhand. And to be honest, as I always say, if it sells quite well in the secondhand market, then obviously people love it. People are using it, people aren't selling it. However, this is the one club that I wouldn't buy brand new, especially when it comes to the older model. Mainly for the reason the Paradigm AI at the moment is going for £809 for that 5-to-pitching wedge set. The old Paradigm, the one that came out last year, $799. I mean, we're talking a tenner. You might as well just get the AI Smoke if you really want to do it. But the Paradigm AI has been a bit sneaky. It's gone 1 degree stronger with that 7-iron for that ultimate distance gain from the older model. And another downside I've seen with the older Paradigm irons is the wear and tear of that graphics on the back. It's very fragile, and I keep seeing it. Unless you're using head covers on all your irons, you're going to start seeing that silvery finish coming through on the back of them. And you can look at this 2 ways. Yes, they're holding the value very well, £500, considering that they obviously came out around £800 brand new. But at £83 per club, and these being quite strong lofted, unless you're a more senior player, 70 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour with your 7-iron, and do launch the ball quite high, i.e. scoop the hands, cut them at impact. I think there's a lot more affordable options in this list that aren't going to wear and tear as easily. And also for you faster players, this potentially might be a bit too stronger lofted. Nothing feels like Mizuno, and to be honest, through this whole list, I personally think Mizuno make the best looking cavity back irons that just don't look gimmicky and look very much more classic. The great news is it's arguably the most cheapest option in this list, brand new and also secondhand. I must state all the prices through this video are the date of me uploading it, so if they do change, I do apologize, but hopefully they're only ever going to get cheaper in the future. But again, for that type of golfer that comes over the top, casts the club, doesn't get that forward lean, you need that de-loftedness. But I should state, with all of these irons, please never get a 4-iron in them. You guys that can swing incredibly fast might like a 5-iron, as that'll basically be a driving iron for you. But if you're able to hit a 5-iron in these set, 200 yards, 210 yards, you are the type of player that's going to outgrow all of these a lot quicker than others. So I highly recommend always buying these secondhand and not necessarily brand new. Brand new, the JPX Hot Metal 91 is going for £525. And to be perfectly honest, it's one of the cheapest, more affordable brand new options. But when I compare it to the pre-owned price of £375, around that mark, around 60 odd pounds per club, I would always go for that more pre-owned option. But I appreciate that some of you guys just want to buy a set of irons, or you just want something new and shiny in the wrapper. I don't think it's the worst investment in this list. Most forgiving set through this entire list, Ping, and it won't go as far, but let me tell you why that is a good thing, because we want forgiveness. Some of you might need height, you don't want distance, you don't want low spin, you need that ball up in the air and relatively straight. Ping G430 irons, £839. And to be fair, through this whole list, Ping holds its value the best. It just does. G10 irons go for around £200. G400 irons go for around £350. So if you do buy second-hand or potentially brand new Ping irons, at least you know you're going to not necessarily lose the same amount of money as some of these others. Ping, again, trying to catch up the others, have gone to 29 degrees with the G430, but the G425 30 degrees, and I quite like that. Some of you are steep, some of you come across it, some of you launch your 7-iron way too low, and it's nice to have that balance. So if you need height and you want forgiveness, this is the ultimate option. However, the G425, for the same reasons I just said, holds its value well. So it's going to be one of the more expensive options. But £450, I guarantee you this set of G425s will be worth £400 in 2 years' time. I forgot how expensive Titleist irons. That's how long I've been out of this game. £1,000 for a set of Titleist 350s, which are lofted to the same as all of these. And the T400s, obviously, they're hybrid irons. But Jesus, £1,000. But there are some good sides similar to that category with the Ping. Titleist does incredibly well with its irons in the second-hand market, especially with their new T-Series launch over the last 6 years. And a generous 29 degrees loft. So again, for that kind of middle ground, potentially you don't need as strong lofted, but don't need as much high. Again, they look classic, they look clean. But I wouldn't even buy the T300, which is what this replaced. Brand new, £749 for 6 clubs. clubs. This is a club that came out 2 years ago, still £124, and you're not going to get fitted for it. It just doesn't make sense in my eyes. And one of the most expensive second-hand options through this list, mainly because of that initial retail value, £500 for 6 clubs. But personally, for me, the Mizuno in the same category, same aesthetic, same look, same feel, it's £150 cheaper, maybe £200 cheaper. For this particular list, you're only paying that price tag because Titleist is slapped on the back of it. The iron, that shocked me, and I didn't even realise how de-lofted this iron actually was. This is the only brand that's potentially gone up in loft because it went, oh, maybe we went a bit too far. I always talk about Cobra for this reason, because they do make good equipment, but resale value and second-hand value, they just plummet. But that's why I always kind of steer clear of buying them brand new, like an Aerojet driver. £180 you can pick it up for at the moment. That came out last year, £400. That's a lot of value to lose. But I think Cobra in the dark speed range looks great. I think it's the best looking 2024 iron or driver set out there. But 27 degrees, the dark speed, that's very strong lofted. And what I didn't realize is that Aerojet was lofted at 26.5. A few more degrees and we're talking about a driving iron for your 7-iron. We have to put into consideration, this is one of the newest sets. Obviously the Paradigm came out last year, the Aerojet came out last year. The others in this list came out 2 years ago, the G425, the T300, the JPX 921. So this is one of the cheapest iron sets that's the most newest as well. £450 for 7 clubs, so that's £64, same as the other brackets. And if you just want raw distance, this is the iron set. Please do not get the 5-iron in this set. Potentially don't even get the 6-iron in this set. If you can find 7 to sandwich, you want distance, you want help, and your 7-iron doesn't go further than 120 yards, then this potentially is the club if you loft the ball too high. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on this video, sasgolfacademy.com if you have any questions personally for myself, and I'll catch you guys later.